You are listening to How to Get Over Your Ex, episode number 162, the Dating to Engaged Process. Welcome to How to Get Over Your Ex, a podcast on getting over your ex without it just taking time. I'm your host, breakup coach Dorothy. Let's turn your pain into power and your heartbreak into happy. Hello, my beautiful brave hearts. How is everyone doing? I love you all so much. I hope you are doing very, very well. And if you're not, it's okay. And I'm here for you. I'm here for it all. So I get asked all the time about dating tips, dating advice, which in the beginning really surprised me, if I'm being honest. I obviously here I am focused on breakups, and I know that, building your bigger and better life, typically for most, it includes finding your perfect partner. But dating isn't something I ever really saw myself as an expert in until my clients started asking for help and then started dating people and then started getting engaged. And then when I went through my breakup, my more recent breakup, not the big one that everyone knows about, but my most recent breakup, I did all the same things that I told my clients to do, and then I was engaged in less than a year. So that was fun. And for those of you who are going through heartbreak and who are in the thick of heartbreak, I don't know if this is like the best episode for you. I would highly recommend starting out with episode number 1 through 5 and then kind of cherry picking based off of the titles and the descriptions that fit for you. But this episode is really for those of you who keep asking me about dating tips, about, what do I do in this dating situation? How do I stop comparing my ex to the new people I'm meeting while I date and things like that? Because I'm just going to lay it all out for you. And I have kind of, put some of the pieces in other episodes, but this is going to just have like the full process in one episode and we can chat all about it. Okay. So inside of the Get Over Your Ex program, I created a workshop and it was all about dating, and I outlined the very specific dating process that takes you from dating to engaged. And it was so fun, and not everyone's working on getting engaged, so this will still be relevant even if you're not wanting to be engaged, but it's very, very important. And I'm actually going to be leading and guiding it's going to be very small, very intimate group of people at the end of this year, at the end of 2022, through a 3-month program that's focused all on dating to be engaged. So if you are a Braveheart alumni and you want in on this program, please DM me on Instagram at Breakup Coach Dorothy, and I can make sure that I'll get you all the information when it's finalized. I'm really excited about it. It's going to be so fun. So here's the thing. Now, most of the time, the biggest problem I see with the questions that I'm receiving about dating or when I'm talking to clients about dating is the number one problem I see is that you're not over your ex. Okay? If you are comparing these new people to your ex, if you're ruminating about your past and how good it was and how terrible your dating is, that's like a signal to me that the desire isn't all the way gone, the attachment isn't all the way gone, and there's something going on with the being over your ex situation. Okay? The second thing I see is you have disempowering stories about your future, right? Dating is terrible. I'll never find someone who is as good as my ex, or there's no one who has all these things that I desire on my want list. And so it's typically one of those two flavors that I'm seeing, and all of that is covered inside of the Get Over Your Ex program. So I'm not going to talk too much about those problems because I talk about them a lot on the podcast, and of course I coach on it all day, every day inside of the Get Over Your Ex program. So those are non-issues within 3 months when we work together. I'm going to set those aside because a lot of you have been listening to the podcast for a while, and I'm assuming if you're asking me about dating advice, you've done those two components. If you haven't, please continue to listen to the podcast, get in the Get Over Your Ex program with me so I can help you through those two things. But we're going to talk even more in depth further into the dating process when you're like feeling really good, like your life's on fire. You're living the bigger and better life and you're over your ex, okay? So the first 2 steps of the dating process are, number 1, be over your ex. Dun, 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 right? We got to be over your ex. Be over your ex before you start the dating process, or else you're just like, you're causing more issues, and typically you'll just start compounding pain, or my biggest advice, and I'm not going to tell you what to do, because I have seen people date while also getting over their ex, and there's no right or wrong way of doing this. However, your dating process is going to be so much clearer and so much easier when you've done the work to get over your ex by following the 4 pillars that I talk about throughout this process, right? Feeling the heartbreak, building the relationship with yourself, creating closure, and then, understanding and debunking the disempowering stories you have about your future. And when you do that, you're going to be in such a better place. Now, the second step is just equally as important, that I see gets glanced over quite frequently. Okay? That step is, what is my intention for dating? What do I want to get out of dating? Do I want to just have fun and meet new people and connect with people in this world? Or am I looking to find my soulmate, or get engaged, or find a husband who's going to want a child with me? And you need to get really, really clear about this, because it's going to affect the rest of the steps throughout the process. And so if you don't have a clear intention as to what you're doing and why you're doing it, why am I dating? What am I looking for? What do I want to get out of the dating experience? It's really hard to determine the rest of what I'm going to explain, okay? So the third thing you do is you're going to complete an activity called the connection circle, okay? And that is really looking at, what are my true and authentic desires for a partner? And if you're not clear about your dating intention, it's hard to know what your authentic desires are, right? So if I'm looking for a husband who gets shit done and acts like a grown-up, that's going to look different than if I just want to be down to have a good time and go party at the club or festival doing recreational activities, right? Those two look very different. So getting clear about that intention is going to be very important. Now, WTF? What the actual fuck is a connection circle, right? And it's hard for me to teach this in a podcast audio recording. Inside of the program, you literally have a workbook that outlines this process, as well as a video outlining the process and me talking through and helping people with examples. But I'm going to do my best here, okay, to describe this in an audio format. So what you're going to do is you're going to write down all the kinds of connections you desire in your life, like sex. I want to have sex in my life. I want to have someone to go to festivals with. I want to have someone to go to work events with, like coaching events and self-help events, who's like super hype about those things. Someone who travels around the world with me, someone who's going to be the father to my child. I want someone to do daily errands with. So what kinds of activities or what kinds of connections are really important to you? Is it important that you go to the market every Sunday morning and you want your romantic interest to do that as well? Okay, so you're going to write all those connections down, and then you're going to write down all the groups of people you have in your life. So maybe that's a romantic partner, right? Then we have high school friends, we have work friends, we have colleagues, we have besties, we have our neighbor that we chat with on the weekends. Write down all the groups of people that you have. And once you have both of those written down, you can draw arrows from the groups of people to the connections that they fulfill in your life. For example, okay, my besties fulfill going to festivals. They'll go to festivals with me and they're like my jam. They also will work out with me, my jam. They will chat on Sundays with me, awesome. But they do not fulfill the sex connection. I don't want to have sex with my best friends. I also don't want them going to work conferences with me. My besties are like not into self-helpery, not the ones that I'm talking about here. I have like work besties and they love that. But my besties from high school, they're like, they could care less that thoughts create feelings, okay? And so same thing with raising a child. However, I do believe that my best friend Danica probably would raise a child with me. I actually have zero doubt about that. But I kind of foresee that position being with a romantic interest. But it doesn't have to be. I'm like totally down to raise a child with my bestie. Or even daily errands. Like I don't really like doing daily errands with my best friends. I would prefer to do that with like a lover where we go get a smoothie and we make out and then we go to the grocery store. So get clear about that for you is draw arrows from the groups of people to the connections that they fulfill in your life. And what's cool about this activity is when you complete this, you'll realize how many groups of people you have to fulfill all the different desired connections you want in your life. And you'll be super clear about which connections are most important for your potential romantic partner to fulfill. This is great, right? Because, and like I said before, the intention piece, when you set your intention, it's so important for this part. If you don't know why you're dating, making this connection circle isn't easy, all right? And after you've thoroughly understood the connection circle and you can look at it, you then create your want list. And we have a whole episode on this, okay? There's a whole episode on a want list, and that is on episode 117. But the gist is that you identify all your wants based on the connections you desire from your romantic partner. And you can also include things you don't want, but you have to write them as things that you desire, right? So for example, you don't want someone who's messy, who doesn't pick up after themselves. So one of your wants is a clean, well-organized human who loves to pick up their things and be neat. Okay? Now, after you write this want list, it's going to be a really, really good idea to just do a gut check. To look at the list and ask yourself, am I being that person? Am I clean and neat? Do I like to pick up my things? Do I like a well-organized home? Am I being that person? Do I embody this quality that I desire so much in a partner? And if the answer is no, you might want to get on to working with that. You might want to start stepping yourself up because there's the whole energetic thing where we talk about be the person you want to have in your life. I even think it's just so impactful when it comes to the dating process because if you are that person, you put yourself in positions to be surrounded by people like that. If you love cleaning and organizing, or you love clean spaces, you're probably going to hang out in clean spaces. You don't go to the Walmart, you go to the Publix, right? And maybe that's where your person is. They're not at the Walmart, they're at the Publix because they like the clean spaces. I'm only saying that because our Walmart isn't as clean as the Publix that we have here. I'm not dissing Walmart. Don't get me wrong. But then even like if I want someone who's healthy and fit, who loves to have like a workout routine, if you don't have a workout routine, the likelihood of you running into someone who has a workout routine is probably a lot lower than if you did have a workout routine, right? So get really honest with yourself in a very kind way. This is all coming from a kind way, right? But am I embodying those things? And it doesn't have to be a direct correlation, but something similar. And an example of that is I really wanted a husband who loves yard work. And the reason for that was it was important to me that my husband took like good care of his things, good care of his lawn and his home. And he could fix things and do stuff around the house. And the reason I wanted that was because I don't like to do that. But am I embodying that myself? And the answer is no, because I don't like doing that. However, I am not going to let things stay broken around my home. I will hire someone to make sure that it gets done. So it's getting done just in a different way. So I hope that makes sense because it doesn't have to be a direct correlation. It could be like, I love a well-fixed home and I like taking care of things and I don't like broken things around my house, but I don't do the work and I know that I could do the work. I just hire someone to do the work. But having a husband who did the work, That's juicy, right? Okay, so the next step is, this is really my favorite part. You create questions that correlate with each want. And this is also in episode 117. Lots of examples. But let's say you want someone who is honest, especially when it's hard to be honest, right? My question for this is, when is the last time you lied to someone? What was it about? What happened? And we have a whole conversation about it, and it's so good. And if someone tells you that they've never lied, they're lying to you. Okay? We've all lied. Maybe it's a white lie or a lie to make someone feel better, but we've all lied. And this sparks a really good conversation, and it gives you a lot of insight into how someone handles lying. Did they come clean eventually? What happened? It gives a really good understanding of character from a different perspective. Let's say you want someone who's affectionate and loving and isn't afraid to hold your hand in public. That's one of those things where I don't know if there's a question really. Like, we could just see what that looks like. You could ask a question around like, what's your thoughts on PDA? Like, do you like to be affectionate and hold hands? Or if you're not someone who wants to be as direct, you can then just look and see, how does he handle, he or she? How are we together in a public setting? Does this person hold my hand or not hold my hand? Are they comfortable kissing me in public in front of other people or not really? And then maybe you're looking for someone who has their shit together. And my definition of that was knows what he wants in life and is already going out and creating that. So a question that I loved for that one was, what are you doing to create the life you want 10 years from now? And my favorite answer is the answer that my fiance gave me, where he was like, I want all passive income. I want to have all these properties. I want to be a dad and stay at home and take care of the kids and do all the kid things and be exciting and have adventures and travel with the children, all while making money through my rental properties. And he had already purchased multiple properties and he's like halfway to his 10-year plan already. And that to me was like very eye-opening of, this isn't someone who just talks about doing something. He is walking his talk. He's doing what he says he wants to do. And that to me was very attractive. Okay. So number 6, you have to go on dates and actually ask the questions. This is the most terrifying part for a lot of my clients. Many of my clients actually ask, when, Dorothy, when do I ask these questions? And we've done a lot of experimenting, and I've asked so many humans about this, out in real life, like at the Verizon store and at the grocery store and other places. I just like randomly will go up and ask people about their experience with this. And it's just so funny. Like, is it okay for someone on a date to ask these questions, on a first date to ask questions like this? And when is it too soon? When is it too late? Because for me, I never had any hesitation on asking these questions. I asked this shit right away. Because someone who is repulsed by me asking direct questions is totally not going to like me in real life. I love asking the tough questions. You guys know this about me, right? And I love having very in-depth conversations about real topics. I cannot, for the life of me, have a surface level conversation about weather or anything else. So it's never too soon for me. And if the person I'm on a date with thinks that it's too soon, then that's okay. We aren't a good fit. Thank you. Next. So when I asked the guys at the Verizon store, these were all men, just as an FYI. When I asked the men at the Verizon store, random place I know, they said it's not about when the questions are asked. It's actually about how. And they mentioned that, if this individual is like, they use the word thirsty. I like to use the word graspy. They said it just comes off weird and very, like I said, graspy. They use the word thirsty. But when it's coming from a full abundance place, or as they would say, a confident grown-ass woman place, then it comes off super attractive, like very sure of themselves, right? And this is really good to notice. And what I find is that if you've done your real work on getting over your ex and building the bigger and better life, Not being in graspy energy is a lot easier because you've addressed the disempowering stories you have about your future. You're not on a timeline or feeling urgent or rushed. You're just extremely sure of yourself, extremely confident, that calm confidence. You're just living into that. And you love your own company so much that the bar is set so fucking high that anything underneath that is just a waste of your time. And you don't have any patience for it. Doesn't mean that you're rude or mean. You just cut it off. It's easy. It's such a brilliant energy to be in. All right. And so the last step, my brave hearts, so important, is to allow yourself to fall madly in love while also practicing non-attachment. There's a whole episode on this, episode 128, but allowing yourself to fall madly in love while not being terrified of getting your heart broken is important. And then practicing non-attachment, which again, if you've gotten over your ex and built the bigger and better life, you've learned how to reduce desire and you've learned how to reduce attachment. So you know how to increase feelings of love and decrease feelings of attachment through the different beliefs that you hold. And the beautiful thing, the most simple way I can say to allow yourself to fall madly in love while also practicing non-attachment is holding two beliefs at the same time. The first belief that you hold is, my life is epic and amazing with this person in my life. And the second is, my life is epic and amazing without this person in my life. Both of those can be true at the same time. And again, when you're over your ex and living a bigger and better life, it's so much easier to not be afraid of getting your heart broken again because you've done the work of experiencing negative emotion. You're a pro at experiencing discomfort and not being uncomfortable in the discomfort. So, download of the dating process. I'll give you the simple steps in like a more succinct way, okay? Number 1, be over your ex. Number 2, what is your intention for dating? What do you want to get out of the dating? Number 3, complete the connection circle. Number 4, create a want list. Number 5, create corresponding questions with the want list. Number 6, ask these questions. Go out on dates and ask the questions. And number 7, allow yourself to fall madly in love while also practicing non-attachment. All right, sister or brother, you got this. I am so excited for you to try it out and try it on. And if you want help with it, of course, just let me know. I'm sending you all of the love, and I will talk to you next time. If you're loving the How to Get Over Your Ex podcast and you want to learn how to get over your ex in 3 months or less to build a life better than the one you thought you had with your ex, I would like to personally invite you to my next group course where we take everything you've learned here on the podcast and apply it to your life. Come check it out at www.lifecoachdorothy.com.